Once upon a time, there lived a young girl called Ifoma and her lover Obina. They were so in love with each other. They met under the mango tree every evening, even sometimes sneaking out of the house just to be with each other. It went on and on. One day, while they were both seated at the riverbank playing and smiling, Obina held Ifoma's hand and said to her, Ifoma, I am not getting any younger. I am tired of all these hide and seek games. I want you to be my wife and the mother to my kids. I want to have you in my life as long as I live. Please be my wife. Ifoma could not help but scream yes out of joy and hugged him. They were so happy and decided to share the news with their families. When Ifoma got home, she met her sister and her parents, and she told them about her plans of getting married to Obina. But instead of the air being filled with joy and happiness, the place was rather silent, and she was shocked. She asked if everything was all right. Her father said, Ifoma, I know you are happy to get married to Obina, but you cannot get married before your elder sister Nkechi. Ifoma could not believe her ears. She ran out of the house in tears to the mango tree where she and Obina usually met. She cried her eyes out. When she came back home, she decided to beg her parents to consider changing their mind. Her mother said to her, My daughter, I know you and Obina are in love with each other, but our decision stands. Your sister must get married before you. Later that evening, Ifoma and Obina met at the mango tree, and Ifoma told Obina about her parents' decisions. Obina was angry and furious and considered the decision being very unfair. He suggested going in person to talk to her parents himself. But Ifoma objected and insisted that she would try to convince them herself. Ifoma approached her sister Nkechi about her plans to get married. Nkechi responded that she was not ready for marriage. Moreover, she explained that there was no suitor currently asking for her hand in marriage, and she was not in love with anyone. Therefore, she could not consider a relationship, let alone marriage, at the moment. Ifoma was sad and devastated, so she decided to give her family and her sister more time, as that was all she could do. The fate of her love with Obina rested in the hands of her sister and her parents. Nkechi, on the other hand, was sharp-tongued. She insulted everyone who crossed her path, both young and old. Known for her mean nature, she had no intentions of getting married. A year later, Obina brought up the topic again, but this time he was unwilling to wait any longer. He went to Ifoma's parents to declare his intentions of marrying her and express his willingness to do whatever it took to make Ifoma his wife. They maintained their stance on not allowing Ifoma to get married before her elder sister. Frustrated, Ifoma and Obina decided to take matters into their own hands by searching for a suitor for Nkechi. They began the search in secret, and eventually, one of Obina's friends, Ike, who had just returned from traveling, agreed to give it a try for Obina's sake. He began showering Nkechi with lots of gifts and attention, and before long, Nkechi fell head over heels for him, and they started dating. Along the way, Ike noticed how mean and insulting Nkechi could be, even to his sister. Though he was already in love with her, he expressed his displeasure with the situation but decided to help her work on it. One day, Nkechi visited Ike at their hut. When his mother returned from the market, she found the two of them together. The moment she saw Nkechi, she shouted, Ike, what are you doing with this girl? Seeing the expression on Ike's mother's face, Nkechi lowered her head in shame. Ike's mother began to narrate, My son, do you remember the story I told you about a girl and her friends who pushed me into muddy water 3 months ago because I advised them not to be disrespectful to an old woman? Ike replied, Yes, I do. That incident left you injured, and you had to undergo treatment for 3 weeks, Ike said. His mother replied, Yes, that's correct. She is the one, and I would appreciate it if she never sets foot in my compound again. Nkechi left Ike's compound, walking away in shame. Later that day, Ike approached Obina to discuss ending his relationship with Nkechi. He explained how much he had endured but admitted he could no longer continue. When Ike told Nkechi about his decision, she cried, begged and promised to turn over a new leaf. However, Ike told her it was too late, wished her well and walked away. Nkechi fell to the ground, crying and heartbroken. When Ifeoma learned of this, she realized she had no hope of getting married anytime soon and decided to take drastic action. Ifeoma threatened to hang herself from a tree if she was not allowed to get married. When her parents heard this, they lured her into her room, took away all sharp objects and locked her inside. They also forbade her from seeing Obinna. Ifeoma cried and cried. Obinna, noticing her sudden disappearance, decided to sneak into her compound at night and knock on her window. When Ifeoma saw that it was Obinna, she told him how her parents had locked her in the room because of her threat to end her life. Without wasting any time, they decided to run away to another village and start a new life. Obinna broke the window, helped Ifeoma climb out and carried her to safety. That night, they sneaked into Obinna's room and spent the night there before beginning their unknown journey early the next morning. When Ifeoma's parents realized she was no longer in her room, they ran as fast as their legs could carry them to the bush, fearing she had escaped to commit suicide. However, they found no trace of her. Immediately, they headed to Obinna's house. When they arrived, they met Obinna's mother. Ifeoma's mother demanded, "Tell your son to bring out my daughter." Obinna's mother was initially surprised and asked what she meant, as she hadn't seen Ifeoma at their house in a while. She politely told Ifeoma's mother that Ifeoma was not there, nor was her son. Perhaps they had gone out, but she assured Ifeoma's mother that if she saw her daughter, she would let her know her mother had come looking for her. Hours turned into days and days into weeks. This time, not only were Ifeoma's parents worried, but Obinna's parents were also scared and prayed for their safety wherever they were. Obinna and Ifeoma traveled 5 villages away and decided to start a new life, defying all odds. Obinna informed his best friend about their plan and asked him not to disclose it to anyone. Meanwhile, Ifeoma's parents began searching different villages for their daughter and eventually found her. Obinna had gone hunting in the bush when Ifeoma's parents found her in their new place. Ifeoma's mother rushed to her daughter with tears in her eyes and said, "My daughter, I am so glad you are alive. Please come back home. You don't belong here." Ifeoma's father added, "Yes, my daughter. We can't let you live like this. You must come back with us." Ifeoma replied to them saying, "No, I am not going back with you. This is my happy place." Just as they were about to drag Ifeoma away, Obinna returned from hunting. He greeted Ifeoma's parents and begged them to respect her decision. He also told them that he wouldn't stand by and let them hurt her, even though they were her parents. At that moment, Ifeoma's parents realized they might lose one of their daughters if they didn't change their stance. They then told them they had accepted their marriage proposal. They also praised the love Ifeoma and Obinna shared and how consistent they had been together. Ifeoma and Obinna were overjoyed and they all returned to the village. 1 week later, they were traditionally married. 3 months after their marriage, Ifeoma became pregnant and they all celebrated. Nkechi, on the other hand, made the decision to be a better person, not because of marriage, but because it is good to be kind. Moral lesson: do not deprive any of your children of their joy, for they each have their own lives to live, with different times and seasons. Please subscribe, like, and share for more stories.